Good morning. I'm Gastón Milano. I'm part of the development team, and as part of such, when we work in a version, we say we're working in the last but one. Evolution 2 for our development team is the latest released version, but the requirements that come up during the time to add to the version are all translated into the next version that will come at some point. And many times we have another instance in our tech that we call the kickoff. The kickoff is the opportunity for us to listen to the marketing team, to the support team, to the testing team, to listen to different voices. And we try to do this. The job is a job of listening. It's not easy. As we listen, we create the seeds for the forthcoming version. Developers bring ideas, we share problems, we look at the technology side. We spend 2 days, in this case preceded by the challenge, and during 2 days we concentrate, we focus, we dream about a new version. We take many wiki specifications and we try to pave the way for future versions, to present then something about the community. These are the foundations. And as Evolution 2 contributed a lot from the community, we hope that the community once again will tell us what things need to be added in this new version. The meeting we had before is a first step where we take notes and refresh many ideas that we tend to forget. But I can assure you that at some point we have recorded all your suggestions, and this is the best time to bring them up again. One of the most important things we do then is listen to each other, and then we define the key name of the version, and we do a very sophisticated panel. We use names for several days, we make suggestions, very democratically we say which is going to be the name of the version, we vote. There were 2 rounds of voting, this was the second round, and Tilo was the name Tilo. And in this presentation I will give you an overview of the Tilo version and the things we are sure will be part of this version. And we have started working here. Somebody last night asked us what Tilo means. Foreigners asked me, and Tilo is a tree. It's like the lime tree in Germany. We use it for infusion. It's Tila in English, also called the lime tree. And it's a beautiful flower. You can make a tea out of the flower. In this kickoff, what we do is try to see the different scenarios that we need to solve in one version. And one of the things we saw was the scenario in general, the scenario of the industry today. And to sum this up, when we do a version, we have like 2 strengths. The strength of the developers that make things easier. We want this, we want that. And on the other side, we have the user experience. They say, well, we want our users this feature and this other feature, and so on. So through the history of Genexus, some versions are more focused on DX, others are more focused on UX. Version 10 was clearly a version that had more of DX than UX, because we are at a time when we did web applications and we were able to focus on DX. And in the previous version, Evolution 2, we focused on UX. Now in Tilo version, we are going to continue with UX, but we will also go back to some of the DX characteristics that we have somehow left behind due to the technological juncture. In the UX, users today seem to be happier. The end users have better experiences to solve their problems with technology, so they are happier. They have very many channels that help them solve the problems they have. If they are very focused, they use a notebook, or before sleeping they look at the dashboard in an iPad or a tablet. If they are in a hurry, they probably have the same access to information through an mobile phone, or maybe if I'm working in a bank or in my headquarters, I may have a desktop or a PC, a traditional equipment. So the users are happier choosing the means they prefer, and they have an application that is multi-channel. My experience with technology is happy because I can solve my problems, and this technology, the multi-channel applications requested by users, are generally connected to a cloud, and the end user does not care whether he has connectivity or not at all times. If I'm working in a Google Doc, I edit, and at some point I know this will be synchronized and I will be able to look at it in my cell phone or in my iPad. And there are different clouds provided by different suppliers, Google, Apple, and so on. Now, from the viewpoint of developers' experience, I solve this with HTML. That's an easy path, but the experience of users, as Nicolas said it in the beginning, they look for native applications, and in this context the solution was Evolution 2. And the users are doing well, until Microsoft, if you wish, told us, well, there's going to be a new Windows 8 version where they will reimagine Windows, as they say, and to reimagine it from a developer experience is not very nice for us, the developers, but for the end users we hope it's going to be an OS that will be much adopted. So the first thing we heard from the technology world, from the technological juncture, is that we need to run a Windows 8 generator for the Tilo version. This is a reimagined Windows. It's not like the one we have. It's a Windows generator for Windows 8 store apps or Metro applications. These are applications that in general are connected with a series of characteristics that we are including in this version. There was a presentation, there were several presentations yesterday on this, so I'm not going to go back to that. But we have the first results of these apps in general, they're generated in Windows 8. And the situation, some of you have asked me, some of the applications that are very simple, like at the beginning of the mobile generator, they can be done. We have news applications, we have data entry. All the controls proposed by Micro are being used. We are using all the guides, but there are many characteristics that are in the smart device generators or push notifications and so on that will be published shortly. Maybe some of you are interested in doing some of these applications, and we can proceed with the state of the generator as it is today. The other important aspect that I would like to mention that was very welcomed by the community, and we have to listen to what our clients say, is the offline application scenario. This scenario is called applications that are occasionally connected. So that for my business may be very important because, for example, if we have mobile outlet points, I have to do my sales, whether I have connection or not. So I need a solution for that. So we focused on online applications first. But this version is including offline applications. Several of the presentations refer to the offline applications. And fortunately, all doubts have been clarified. So it's going to be very easy to move from an online to an offline application. So I recommend that if you want this scenario, first do the online application, have something concrete. And some of you have started to work, especially in the dairy field doing offline applications. So my first suggestion is move on to evolution 2, have something concrete online, and then it's going to be very easy for you to move offline. From the viewpoint of UX, to have multiple devices and native applications is important, but it is also important to have a user interface. The user interface in native applications is quick, fluid, with good performance, but what users want to have is applications in that scenario, in that world, in the world of end users, to have applications that are amazing. Very good applications. But they ask this on smart devices as well as web. I will mention some examples that can be applied both in smart devices and the web. The web is an important platform, and we are focusing on doing this evolution. Fortunately, we are doing very well given the many things that we have to do with web applications and smart devices. In case of web applications, Nicolás Cardelino and Gonzalo Galotti will talk about the features that we will include in web applications. But we want them to behave as native applications in the transition of screens, in the management of events, and we will modify them to make it simpler, to make it more intuitive, and this will have repercussions in the performance, given that the amount of information that will travel through the wires, through the cables, or I don't know, will diminish. And we want, when we talk about user experience, performance also means UX. If we have an application that's very slow, the UX will be poor. The same with offline applications. It all has to do with UX. If I have a good experience and I can really receive the order, that's fine. That's UX again. For web applications, notifications are important. The applications should be proactive with the end users. They should inform about what's going on. We could have an online blog that shares news, and this is reflected on the screen. That kind of interface, by refreshing with F5, is past and gone. This Windows 8 has several of the characteristics of the web that we are going to develop. In terms of smart devices, we have to include more things so that developers can do applications with a better composition of elements, so that we can have applications that are prettier, so that we can reuse many of the things. In the case of smart devices, components, we will have the same as Word components. We will add a developer file to obtain a better UX in the end. This is because we want to reuse certain things. What else can we do? We have the themes, and we will increase them. We will add more gradients. We will add a series of properties that I am not going to enumerate now. But what other things could we add coming from the UX, from the user's experience? I read an article some time ago that compared Android and iOS. Why in the early Android stages we had both, and how people felt about these applications. Unanimously, they said that iOS was better than Android. You feel better with iOS, people said. I felt the same, but I didn't know why. Why this was so. Was it the colors or what? But we understood that one of the things that in this article was mentioned was this topic of animations. Animations, and in this article they talked about how to open and close an application in one system compared to the other. In an iPhone, the applications came with a special effect, and they left with a special effect, with a feeling of flow, something flowing. But in Android, there were no animations. You just had the screen, it came and went without any effects. and the same was true about the screens themselves. So the difference was in terms of animation. So with Word and smart devices we will start working with the concept of animation. If I want to go from one class to another, I can do an animation with a fade in and a fade out. It's not just to change colors. The animations are used to attract the attention of the user, because we are working with mobile devices and I have to draw their attention at some point. Maybe we have to leave an icon or a notice or an indication that something is happening. As part of the animation we have several scenarios, I'm not going to mention them all, but to change a class in a very dynamic way, in an animated way, that can be done. It's not a change as we have it today. I could do something with more effect. Or, if I want to do something more relevant that can be easily seen, I could change the size. So, animations as well as design are very difficult for developers. Many times we have to say, well, that's enough. To overdo it is worse than not doing it at all. So here we have a field where we can learn a lot about how to do animation. Are we going to animate everything? It's going to be horrible. So the difference between a good application and a very good application could be given by the right type of animation. Now, animations are important, but if we put them together with gestures, which is a way in which you interact with the device, it's a new way of interacting. The pioneer was iPhone. You can manipulate directly, you can use the widget and the elements on the screen. If we bring this together with animation, we will have a very remarkable differentiator. In Evolution 2, in the Upgrade 2, we have included events for simple gestures like tap, double tap, swipe left and right, and we will add other multi-point gestures, zooming and so on, and I will need some feedback. So this is so much so that when 10 months ago I had a baby. He is 10 months old. When I did this experiment, he was 10 months. He was very young. And I think with my baby, I did an experiment with my child. The animations with gestures, this is wired into our heads. This is a game. If you have kids, you probably played. It's peekaboo, peekaboo, peekaboo. So this is a game that all children like to play. This is the digital version of peekaboo. It's very happy. They have coined it's a pun on the word. This is an animation. A curtain comes from the sides and the kid can do any gesture and the curtains will open. It comes from the top, this animation. So look at the gestures of the baby when he's watching. Look at him. He uses peekaboo and it works. And I think now it will come from the top, and this is what he does. Yeah, look at his finger, peekaboo. Maybe it's just by chance, but he does it. I couldn't believe it. Now he up again. And now it's a war with his mother. He wants to play with the iPhone. Mother doesn't want to give it to him. But he's obedient. And now he moves to the sides. Coming from the right, if it comes from the right, I push it to that side. So we are wired somehow. We have to think that if it comes this way, the user will do it like this. It's intuitive. So this is something that makes sense. So if you animate gestures, we can change the interaction of our applications, because now we have direct manipulation. And my child, despite what mommy says, he's not a genius. So we will improve the grids. We will do several improvements. We will add headers and footers And Windows 8 allows us to increase the size of certain elements. We can use different templates for the different sites. And of course, from the viewpoint of user interface, from the point of view of developer experience today, well, I think in the past we had gurus for certain types of applications, but now to do multi-channel applications, we don't find just one single person. We need more of a team to do this. It's very hard to find just one single person to work on the application. So today it's complex to get to know many different things. In my presentations I never said, please go to GeneXus directly. If you're a developer and you don't use GeneXus, I will give you an advice. Use GeneXus. I am a developer. I am advising you to use GeneXus. There are no other alternatives. But for those of you who already use GeneXus or have been using it for over 10, 20 years, maybe you have forgotten certain things. I said this during the development meeting. It's not that we have developed certain things, but technologies and screens have probably not allowed us to use certain concepts like the concept of modules any longer. So in the Tilo version we are starting once again to bring certain things back from modules, because modules for developers allow us to understand different things and interoperate, and these KBs are scaled up. And then we will find different objects from the module, and we will be able to export module interfaces, and we will be able to work at ease with different objects. It all has to do with the way in which industry solves this type of problem. We are not reinventing the wheel, but we brought this to you once again because we think we have room for this opportunity. From the viewpoint of development productivity, we are going to add many features. The ones I'm going to mention are already being developed. We talked about multi-tenant operations and many more elements. We are doing more complex applications, we are generating more codes, and we have more elements like user interface, customers database, servers database, services, and so on, things that we need to do. Someone has to do them. So we are trying to use multiple core specification and background specification. Many times we serve the specification of objects in advance, sometimes not, but we are trying to do the best and to really use the processing capacity of the machines at the most. In terms of themes and editors, during our challenging exercise, we never thought that developers were going to design, but we could improve their experience because it's not so good, so that we can visualize whatever is going on. If, for example, I want to change from iPad and iPhone, it's only the size of the letter. I don't have to create a new theme. I can keep the theme and change one of the properties, for example, change to font such a number, and the same with Android. We should ask designers a color palette or choose from different color palettes. So if it's just button up and you define this, and this will go for the bar, and this will go this way and that way, when in fact we know if I chose a black background for the bar cannot be black, it should be something that is more highlighted. So in a color palette, each color has a function and plays a role, so GeneXus should have something like that. So around themes and feedback from editors, we will be working to improve this experience on the part of developers. In terms of security, we will be working with GAM, with GAM, and data, and we have also detected, thanks to the community support, that we need a deployment instance, because when we develop, we leave many properties open because it's easier for the developer. But at the time of deployment, we have to bear this in mind one by one. So we will have a deployment instance where all the properties will have to be kept safe. So you always have to have this trade-off between production and developing. And things that are open should get some sort of warning. Certain tools already check security, they analyze the problems, and maybe they will become available in Evolution 2 so that you have them handy. And many, many other things that I have no time here to share with you in this presentation. But we look forward to getting your feedback. We are at an alpha process with many of these scenarios. If you have something concrete and specific, there is a genexus.com/Tilo, and you can register and you can talk about your projects, and we can start working together. In 3-4 weeks' time, we will have a community technology preview to start looking into Tilo. But my recommendation is that you move on to Evolution 2, Upgrade 2, because we have reached a level where generators are at a break-even point, and we have many, many files oriented to those who are very pragmatic and have their projects ready, so we can deal with the applications that are needed today. Tilo is being prepared for future applications that will be needed further on. So let me invite you to contribute your ideas. We're always open to listen to the community, and Evolution 2 was a great contribution thanks to you.